Michael, congratulations. Tell us why you want to stay at Shrewsbury.
Oh, there's lots of reasons. I think well, obviously my first meeting with Mickey probably 5 or 6 weeks ago, when initially we spoke about a short-term contract. The idea at the time really was to sort of change the identity of the group and the football club and go down a different route, and that really sort of got my imagination. I knew initially, obviously, the amount of games that were left, I could make an impact, but not to the point where, you know, whether it was going to be enough to improve results, because obviously of what had happened previously and obviously the strength of the group, etc. But I knew that I could certainly have an impact in terms of the way we played or tried to play, and have an impact on the players in terms of the way they thought about the game and how they approached the game. And it takes time. It does take time to get to where we want to get to in terms of what we want to do and the identity to bring to the club. But I always felt I'd get the opportunity to do that even after the initial conversation, because regardless of obviously the first contract being a short contract, I had a genuine feeling that the likes of Mickey, the chairman, and the club wanted me beyond that.
Relegation brings change. How much change do you think there will be on a playing front?
Well, I think obviously there's going to be a significant change. What does significant mean? How many numbers does that mean? I'm not too sure at this moment in time, but the reality is we've had a season where, you know, let's face it, it's one to forget as a football club, and everyone's aligned with that. Everyone knows that. No one's hiding away from that. But I think sometimes you've got to put a line under it as well. And, you know, once the game's out of the way tomorrow, the line will be well and truly sort of, you know, the line in the sand will be there, and it'll be very, very clear that what happens beyond that, in terms of the players that stay in the building, the players that we bring in, I think that'll be a clear message to which direction we want to go.
Is there an option to settle maybe contracts early in order for you to bring in the players that you want?
Potentially. I think there's always that. You never rule anything out, and we're not going to rule anything out. There's certain profile of players that, you know, that we would like to bring to the football club, and, you know, having those type of players available. You know, sometimes you might have an idea that you want to keep a certain amount of players in the group, but all of a sudden in the market a certain amount of players become available, which is more than what you actually discussed or thought about in the first place, and ultimately you've got to make decisions. And sometimes people have to leave, and, you know, sometimes you have to have uncomfortable conversations with people, but I'm more than happy with that.
When do you envisage that retain list to come out?
I haven't got a clear one in terms of an absolute date on it, but you know, in good time, once we've had a good chat with the players that we know that are not going to be here, obviously you guys will know once we've done that.
What about backroom staff? Because you've got, of course, your trusted assistant who's staying on. Do you envisage any changes there?
Not really, no. I suppose this has been one of the real plus points, whether it's with the players that are staying in the building, ready for next year. On the flip side of that, obviously I've had an opportunity to look at the staff, and you know, I'm more than happy with what I've got in place at this moment in time, and yeah, I don't envisage you know, much change from that point of view.
Of course, promotion will be the key objective, I guess, next season.
Well, obviously that will depend on a lot of things, doesn't it? It'll depend on the players that we can keep, players that we can get rid of. Budget's massive. There's a lot of things that can affect that. Obviously, the football club at the minute, you know, the chairman's working really hard to try and get investment into the football club or a potential takeover. So I'm not going to be naive enough to sit here and say, yeah, we're going to, you know, going to get automatic promotion, or, you know, we're going to get promotion as a definite next year. That would be stupid, especially we're not obviously 100% knowing what the figures are going to be like and what we can and can't do.
Yeah. Does your appointment mean that a potential takeover is getting closer?
Who knows? I mean, obviously, I think there's, from what I hear, there's definitely a lot of interest in the football club, and why wouldn't there be? You know, fantastic stadium, good training ground, really well run club for a number of years. There's a lot of basket cases out there, and this certainly isn't one of them. So, you know, I can understand the amount of interest in the football club, and only yesterday, you know, having conversations with the chairman, he made it clear that there's still a lot of keen parties.
Do you know if any of those interested parties have had a say in you staying on, or what do you know about that?
Not a lot, and I think it's one of them where if that was the case, you know, I've not sort of felt under pressure from that point of view. I think obviously very early, maybe after the first or second game, you know, the chairman, Mick, and all the club really made it clear that they probably wanted me beyond obviously the 3rd of May, and you know, and that's how it's panned out, and I'm really looking forward to having a right crack at it.
Yeah, regards budget, are you confident a takeover will happen in order for you to build and spend maybe more than you would at the moment before the transfer window closes?
Well, I think if that does happen, that's obviously an obvious thing that will happen. The reality is, you know, we're a club that's been relegated from League 1 to League 2, and if the club does, you know, turn over, you know, go to another group or person, they want to be successful, and to do that, you know, I would imagine that they would have an idea of what success looks like at League 2 level in terms of the finances, and you know, at that point it'd be up to them to decide what they want to do. But right now, like I say, it's you know, they're the type of questions that obviously I can't really answer. But if I'm ever in a position where I can, obviously I'll let you know.
Yeah, identity, I know, is a big thing, and people associate you with playing a good brand of football on the eye. Is that what you're looking to do? Have we already seen pretty much how you want to play next season?
I think you've seen certainly glimpses of it. I think the structure, how we play and how we set up, you've seen a lot of. There's been a lot of frustrations for me in the 8 games, in terms of we've seen sort of spells in the games, 10, 15, 20-minute spells where we've, you know, done what I would want to do on a regular basis over 90 minutes. I think certainly in the build phase and the middle bit, the create bit, we've been really good. I think in that final third, we've let ourselves down numerous times in games and lacked quality. But the good thing is hopefully I can affect that, you know, now. I can affect it in terms of players leaving the football club, players coming into the football club to make us better, and, you know, if we've got better quality players in the group, you know, come the start of August, then we're obviously going to perform better on a more regular basis within the games, never mind like game after game.
When you're out of work, sometimes there have been managers before who you think they'll get a job straight away and never came back. Has this given you a bit of a new lease of life? Were you concerned at one stage maybe you wouldn't get another chance at this level? No,
not at all. I mean, obviously I made the decision, certainly probably, I don't know, maybe a couple of months after I left Charlton, that I was potentially going to go down a different route, only because that was presented to me. You know, there was an opportunity that was presented to me that I liked the idea of, give me the opportunity to do different roles. It was more of a hybrid role, bit of coaching, bit of recruitment, and you know, I really got excited about that. Started watching a lot of different games, started watching a lot of under 21 games again, and a couple of 18 games, and it was new and it was quite exciting. But then when that opportunity went, I found myself going to more sort of first team games again, and going from 1 game a week to all of a sudden going to 3 games a week. And I think the wife very quickly realised that the fire started burning again, and yeah, when the obviously opportunity come, you know, 5 weeks or so ago, I was ready to snatch it with both hands.
Is that a hint maybe at your recruitment policy? Would you like to bring in younger players that maybe you've seen, or that can play, you know, that coming from academies, but that can play the football that fits into your style?
Well, there'll be a bit of everything. There is certainly, you know, the reality is over the last probably 10, 12 years at various clubs I've been at, I've been quite lucky enough to build a relationship with a lot of big Premier League clubs, and not only help them develop their young players and not just as players, as people as well. So because of that, there's a trust there, and I want that trust to continue, and I want that opportunity to take their players to continue. But at the same time, I never take my eye off the ball from what I've got in front of me. So we've got players at the football club that I'm sure over time, whether it's right now or in the future, that'll have an impact in the first team, and we've just got to make sure that we get the timing right, pick the right time, pick the moment, and then when we do that, if they do get the opportunity, it's down to them then. I think one thing that we can do and can 100% do is create an environment for them to thrive in. Now, whether they take that opportunity, that's, like I said, that's down to them, but the actual environment that they walk into, whether they're one of our young players or coming from another football club, they'll certainly enjoy it.
I know at Lincoln, loans really served you very well there, utilising those contacts. Do you think that's an area that you're looking to really work with ahead of a new season?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to be. I think, there's a lot of reasons why sometimes you have to take 5 or 6 loans at a time. A lot of that can be down to budget. If you've got a budget that's not necessarily competitive in the top half of the division, and it's closer to the bottom half of the division, then loans can elevate that budget a little bit, and you can get really good players that all of a sudden give you an opportunity and give you a fighting chance with some of the big boys in the division. So it depends where you are, depends which situation you're in, but I'll always try and make the group better and challenge the group, and if that means sort of bringing 4 or 5 loans in to add to sign players, because you need a mixture. You're not going to compete or be competitive in League Two with just 11, 12, 14 kids. You need some senior players in there. You need a couple of cultural architects. That's been big for me in a lot of the clubs that I've been at. I need 2 or 3 players who are brilliant in the dressing room. I need 2 or 3 players that, if they're not in the team, they're not moaning, they're not sulking, they're getting on, they're pulling people with them. And listen, we've got 1 or 2 already, but I'd like to add to that as well.
And finally, from me, we're sitting here in 2 years' time. What do you hope you've achieved?
Progress, and depending on how quickly or slow that progress happens, progress. I mean, I've done all my best work when I've been given time and people have believed in me. I'm not a quick fixer, never have been. I get, and there is people out there from a management point of view that are definitely that. I'm not that. I'm a builder, and I think one of the first things someone asked me, one of the questions probably 5 or 6 weeks ago, is what your philosophy is. Look, I want to win as much as anyone else. Anyone who spends more than an hour of my time, whether it's at the training ground or whatever, they'll see a different type of person they probably see on the side of the pitch, who's quite calm and quite relaxed at times, even when probably inside I'm going through the absolute all emotions that you guys in the stands are doing. I'm doing that, but just trying to keep a lid on it. But having said that, I think my philosophy is improve people. Improve people, and the reality is the more players they improve, the better opportunity we're going to get to win games.
How long, sorry, just one more from me. How long do you think you need then to really build what you would deem as being successful?
There's so many things to answer that question. I mean, one of the biggest things is player availability, budgets, all them type of things can speed up that process. But if you go too quickly, all of a sudden you get yourself in a position where you have success, instant success, and then because you're not ready for it and prepared for it, you come straight back down again. I've always had a bit of a mentality, whether it's in sort of League Two or League One, to try and build a group of players that are good enough to get out the division above us. I know it sounds a bit strange, but that's the type of conversations I've had with owners and chairmen in the past. I think it's important that if you're able to do that, you're going to give yourself a better platform, that when you get the success, you're ready for it rather than not ready for it.